Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you greetings from Freiburg, here specifically in Umrich, right?
Yes.
Is that the pronunciation?
A little bit similar. Yes.
I'm here with my friend, Professor Uwe Muller, with a lot of experience from different teaching institutions. And we're going to discuss a few things that have to do with the geopolitical situations that are affecting our nation, Uganda, particularly, but also Germany, where he comes from.
Yes.
So Mr. Uwe comes with a lot of experience, 20 years teaching experience. So you can know that you're talking to a man who has been grounded in teaching. Mr. Uwe also works with the IHK. He will explain what that means. And so, Mr. Uwe, you're welcome to our viewers.
Yeah. Welcome too. Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. Yes.
Okay, great. So, Mr. Uwe, tell us about yourself and about what you do.
Yes. In my former life, I have studied economics, political economics, and also done an education for bank accountant.
Yes.
And first of all, I have worked 10 years in a great bank in Germany.
Okay.
And after that, I have had a lot of experience in teaching young people
Right.
in different issues. I did this about 20 years, and now I am working for an institution called IJK. This is an institution who supports all the entrepreneurs, all the firms in Germany, and also helps people in education. It's a great institution.
Yes.
And I worked for two branches.
Wow. Wow. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Uwe, I want you to tell me something about the geopolitical situation that has affected Europe.
Yes.
If not the entire world. The war between Russia and Ukraine. Yes. What is your take on that?
Yes, Russia has begun this war. They, I don't know the exact word.
Yeah.
They were rioting. They fall in the Ukraine because they think. Mr. Putin thinks that Ukraine should be a part of Russia, what is not the truth. So I think in the past, most of the politicians in the Western world did not realize that Putin was on this way, that he planned to begin a war with Ukraine. And so, to my opinion, it's very important that the Western countries, which excludes also the USA, support Ukraine with all what is needed.
Okay. How has this war impacted Germany particularly?
How it has impacted Germany in different ways. First of all, because Germany has got most of energy from Ukraine or Russia.
Okay.
The prices for energy were exploding. People are scared here in Germany, have been scared about this. And the government helps with financial support even for the purer ones in Germany. It also affects Germany because people are having fear that this war will escalate, maybe in a third world war or something like that.
Okay. And when you say that, that becomes a question of concern because Africa, where we come from,
Yes.
becomes becomes what, a bargaining chip of sorts, because maybe we try to create a balance of sorts. I remember Putin had invited most African leaders to try and be like people who would try and create some kind of peace between Ukraine and the rest of the world. So do you see that Africa has now a position to play in international relations of sorts?
I think Africa should have. The war with the Ukraine also affects Africa very much because the prices for food also have risen very heavily in, I think, most of the countries in Africa. Even in these countries where the people have been poor, now they are fearing dying of hunger. Transport of wheat and all other things that are needed is damaged. So I think it affects the whole world. It affects the whole world, but
Absolutely.
it's even Africa is affected very much, and so the African leaders also should take influence, should try to take influence as best as they can.
Okay. Do you realize that there are those who argue that whereas it may be true that Putin may have attacked Ukraine,
Yes.
but logically it's because of the things that went wrong. Because NATO, at the formation of NATO, after the disbursement of the great Soviet Union, you remember they had certain agreements that were in place. Lots of agreements that had been brought in place before of course, the breaking down of the Berlin Wall. I think you probably witnessed that as a German.
Yes.
And those arguments were like, okay, we are gonna dismantle Soviet Union, but then please don't go beyond this. Leave this for us. And they are blaming America for intruding or breaking those agreements. So, I mean, someone made a point and said, imagine if, for example, someone went to South America, or near America and said, we're gonna take this. If Russia, for example, went and put their bases there, wouldn't that affect the American situation or their security? So, I mean, even Crimea, for example, the Russians are saying we had agreements. We believe that this is for purpose of security concerns. We agreed to do what you want, but you are going outside your whatever. Is that right?
It's right.
Okay.
In the past, I think many countries and even the NATO has done a lot of mistakes. Putin has attacked Ukraine, and this is wrong and bad. But you are right when you say that the Western world did not realize that Russia feels insecure because of some things. Many countries have gone to the NATO. Russia did not want to this for some countries, I think.
Right.
And yes, so they feel menaced because of what NATO has done. So it's like very much things in the world. It's not only black and white. That's right. It's totally wrong what Russia has done with the attack of Ukraine, but also the NATO, Western countries, Western world has done a lot of mistakes.
Right.
This is right.
Okay. Actually, talking about that, you need to impress yourself with the book that has been written by my friend Mahiri, Dr. Mahiri Barunya, on the concept of a possibility of another third war of sorts because of the situation that is happening in Ukraine.
Yes.
And the danger with that is that we're talking about countries that are superpowers, in terms of ammunition. I know Germany has sent ammunition to Ukraine to help them, to aid them. But you're fighting a country that is strategically stronger in all intents and purposes, that has a superpower.
That's
in
right.
the world, I was telling you, we had a discussion last time about 3 countries only that have what they call hypersonic missiles.
Yes.
And hypersonic missiles are things that move faster than sound. So even by the word of the word go, it has already arrived at its destiny. And these are 3 countries, basically Russia, America, and China. And now, you know that the geopolitical security strategics in such a way that America is on one side, Russia is on the other side, and China is maybe in the middle. So don't you see that this war is a lost war for all sides?
Yes, it's true. It's definitively a lost war for all sides.
Absolutely.
It's not only the cost that has created by this war. They are very high, but that's not the main problem. The main problem is first the debts
Yes.
loss of victims of the war, and not only the victims in Ukraine, also the victims because of the wheat transport of the supporting of, for example, countries in Africa who always did get the wheat and the other things from Ukraine.
Right.
This war is a very great danger for the whole world.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And you have mentioned China, and China is, yes, how will how can I pronounce it? China, you cannot trust China fully because, yes, the human rights are
On one side.
on one side. Yes, and on the other side, China is a very important partner for in economy
Yes.
for the Western world.
Absolutely.
So because of the globalization, everything has become more difficult.
Absolutely. And talking about the geopolitics, I'm always a little bit disturbed. I know Germany was a superpower one time.
Yes.
During its times, perhaps during the times of Hitler and the likes.
Okay.
And that became a danger in a way that the Western world, led by Britain and America, kind of tried to dismantle German and broke it into West and East and, the Great Wall and stuff like that. And then what happened is that even at the breaking of the Berlin Wall, when Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, and then they tore down the wall and stuff like that. My disturbance is the fact that we still see the presence of America heavily in Germany.
Yes.
And isn't that taking away some kind of autonomy of Germany? Don't you think Germany is more like a servant of America of sorts? Do you feel that independence as a German citizen, or do you feel there's an encroachment by American influence?
I think the dependency on the USA, on America, has gone less and less and less, more or less with the years.
Okay.
20 or 30 years ago, the influence was very much higher, but still it's rather high. That's true. So the relationship between Germany in itself and the USA is a very important relationship. But yes, you can say USA is the bigger one. USA is the country who says where it has to go. Sometimes it seems like if Germany or other countries are something like servants of the USA.
I know.
You are right, but I think the influence is getting lower.
Okay, and that's the bigger problem that I think we've had in Africa, where we had certain countries, of course, including Germany. Germany was a colonial master of a number of countries in Africa, like Tanzania, and even Uganda, by the way, at the same time, because Uganda was traded off a certain island with UK, and that's why you see our flag, the Ugandan flag, is similar to the German flag.
Very similar.
It's the opposite. Black, yellow, red, and yours is what? What's the color?
Black, red, golden, or
okay. so the colors are virtually the same. The only thing that separates them is that the reverse of the way they're in. But that's because Uganda was initially would have been a colonial interest of Germany, but it was traded off with the UK, one of the islands, because the UK was interested in the Nile Basin, ruling over the Nile Basin and stuff like that. So there's a lot of correlationship between Uganda and Germany of sorts. And so the challenge we're having today is the neo-colonialism now that is happening. The American neo-colonialism that has happened in Europe by the creation of NATO, but also other entities in terms of trade and stuff like that. And then the problem is that my opinion is that America plays a big bullies individual sort where it likes bullying the entire world. And I think Russia gets offended by these kind of things. But let's talk about the superiority of Germany. I was watching a documentary one time, and they were telling me about the military, the elite of German. These are trained way back when they're young, and how they go through the gruesome training. And I would imagine they're probably even better than Sandhurst, which Sandhurst has probably the best military training around the world. And the superiority of German in terms of even intellect. People like, who is this guy? Einstein, Albert Einstein, who was actually German, who migrated from Germany to America, who invented the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared. So there's a lot of German talent and German excellence that I think we should not let go. Even the mechanic or the engineering technology that German has actually imparted on the world, the likes of the Mercedes-Benz, the likes of BMW, the likes of Audi.
Yes.
I don't think there's any country that actually can compete with Germany in terms of that superiority. And to me, that speaks a lot in terms of the German brand. What is your concept? What makes Germans make them that kind of, super good, if you like?
Yes, I think the Germans are working very hard, and there are some values like diligence, like to be in time every time, and to be very truthworthy. These things are maybe little bit contrary to other countries. So work is has a great meaning in Germany. There are people who are working about 80, 100 hours per week. Yes, and also the experience and the knowledge in very much areas are very high, and the education is good.
Right.
So these are components who work together, and I think who has made Germany to that what it is now.
Excellent. Because listen, what happened is that after the disbanding of East Germany versus West Germany, and even the bombing of Germany during the World War I and World War II, there was a lot of destruction in this country.
Yes,
I could clearly see. But you guys were able to up your game, and even now Germany is actually the biggest economy in Europe.
That's right.
In spite of the fact that countries like England and other countries had actually, bombed you, and other countries never had wars like Switzerland. It's incredible to note that Germany has actually risen and has asserted itself on the international scene. So that's extremely important. I look at your roads, your networking, the railway communication here, the satellite systems here, the food, the ecosystems here. There's so many things that appeal to us as individuals, and even the contribution that Germany has had on the religious perspective. I was discussing with you about Martin Luther, the German Martin Luther, not the American Martin Luther. How he broke off from the Catholic Church under the Protestant Revolution, and then started that kind of when he planted the 35 rules, right?
It was 95 rules.
95 rules on the you can tell us a little bit of that.
Yes, the situation when Martin Luther has done this with these rules was that the Catholic Church, they have left the Christian way in some things. They have promised people that the years in purgatorium were less when they pay money for some things. And on the other side, the Pope and his cardinals were living in a rich situation.
Yes.
They have built in this time, they have, for example, built the Petersdom in Rome with the money from the believers. And the and this money was from people who had nothing or who had already almost nothing.
Right.
So, and Martin Luther told this was not right. He sometimes even said the Pope is the Antichrist. Yes. And so, yes, he had risked a lot. His life was in danger because of this. He has to flee. He has to be very careful. But what many people maybe forget, Martin Luther didn't want to create a new church. He wanted to renew church, the Catholic Church. He wants that they go back to the right way.
Okay.
But yes, Pope and all these cardinals and all these yes important and people with much influence, they yes, they didn't want it.
That's right. So that's interesting to note how much Germany has contributed to the entire world in terms of science, in terms of strategic importance, and you cannot underestimate Germans, especially as we have known the background of Germans and what they have gone through. Interesting to note that I was reading a book that may not sound so nice with the ordinary people because of the way people look at Adolf Hitler. When you talk about Germany, you kind of have to smuggle in Adolf Hitler, whether you like it or not. I know people have political issues with Adolf Hitler, but his book, in Mein Kampf, I think he said, I use emotions. He said, I realize the soft-mindedness among the majority of people that I use emotions for the many and reserve reason for the few. And one of the things that impressed me about that is that Adolf Hitler, Germans are known to have blue eyes. You guys are known to have blue eyes. So he was having this stereotyping and, telling people that, the world hates you because Germans, you have blue eyes.
And blonde hair, yes.
And blonde hair, and you are unique and you're superior. And guess what? Adolf Hitler himself did not have blue eyes. He actually had black eyes.
Yes.
That's the rhetoric about that. So it tells you how much politicians can go around and bend things. And I'm told that when Jesse Owens won the marathon, he was the first black guy in America to win the marathon. Martin, and people celebrated and said, "Wow!" I heard this from the president. His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when he was giving a speech, I think when he had just come into power, and he was deeply political and philosophical at that time. And he said that Jesse Owens, after winning, the world celebrated the black man having won, and that time it was not very common for black men to participate in Olympics and stuff like that. And Hitler said, "Why are you excited? You shouldn't celebrate the black man. You should celebrate the white man. Why? Because the white man has trained, quote unquote, an animal to turn into a human being and win and excel." I mean, that's a debate for another time. But anyway, the point I'm trying to say is that I have a discussion with my friend, Professor Uwe here in Germany. And Uwe, what lessons do you think Uganda has? I know you have interacted with quite a number of Ugandans.
Yes.
You probably had interactions with, you may not have visited Uganda.
No.
But you visited Kenya, you say?
Kenya and Tanzania I have visited, but I haven't been in Uganda till
Okay.
now.
What do you think are the takeaways for Uganda? What lessons would you give? If you are speaking to Ugandans today, what would you tell them?
Yes, I know the situation in Uganda is quite different from the situation in Germany. For example, in Uganda, most of the people are young. In Germany, most of the people are old. So the situation in Uganda is much more difficult because of this, because young people need work.
True.
And the unemployment is very great in Uganda. But what is very important is that everyone should try his best, should work as hard as he can, should look that he gets a good education. Should the younger ones should learn much so that they get good results in school or later in university or when they are doing in education. What is very important is not to wait till government or something other do this or that, but be able to do it by itself. So work as hard as you can.
Right.
Try to make the best from this what you have, and don't give up.
Don't give up.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Don't give up. Yes.
Don't give up. I was in Holland last time in Amsterdam, and the Dutch people have this saying. We used to call everyone when I was studying in school, people who are hardworking, they used to call them chuma cha modachi. in translated means what, a machine made out of the Dutch. And in Uganda particularly, we also had there was a time when almost every durable thing was made in England. So many of the durable things were made in England. I see the kind of roads that you guys have here. Everything is done to perfection, and everything is done to serve like a greater tomorrow in terms of living ahead. Obviously, the challenge you have now is there's a lot of Chinese influence in Africa, and many of the products that we have are more like fake, which reminds me of the book that I wrote called Counterfeits, Chronicles of Counterfeits, that you can find on lubogo.org or sugereslowup.com. And I'm trying to write one other with my friend Council Moema, Senior Council Moema, in terms of, because he has a program that talks about counterfeits. But counterfeits have had a big problem here in Africa. In here, I don't see many counterfeits. Many of the things are original, they are durable. How do you do it?
You're not exactly right. There are also many counterfeits here. Also many things are from China here. China is everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere in the world. But I think we have the technological progress here in many areas. Many firms, also the government has good machines, good outfit and all this which you can prepare everything. And what I even told is the diligence and the hardworking people who contribute.
Yes.
That many things are good in a good state,
right,
and in a good quality.
Right. Professor, what do you like most about Africa? If someone asks you, what do you love most about Africa?
What I love in Africa is the joy that Africans have in life. They are dancing, they like to dance, they like to sit together, have community. And what also expresses me much is that in the families they are looking for each other, they care for each other. So I think this is something that people in Germany can learn from.
Right. There we go. Communal. Look at my book, Ubuntu Bulamo and the Law, which probably talks about communalism, the idea that we are inextricably bound. I think Dr. King said it rightly. He said, I cannot be what I am until you are what you are. For whatever reason, I see that we are inextricably bound. The idea that we are interconnected, we are brothers and sisters, and we live together in unity. By way of last comment, Professor Uwe Muller, what do you say? What word of wisdom can you give to the young youth of Uganda?
Yes, I know I know life is hard in Uganda. I know it. First of all, don't give up.
Right.
And second, try to do the best of this what you have, what you can make. Be able to work hard. It's very important to work, not to sit down and wait for I don't know what.
You're right.
And trust in God. God will never leave you alone.
Amen.
And I think the most important thing is don't give up, trust in God,
right,
and work hard as you can.
Right. Dr. King said it right. If it falls your luck to be a street sweeper, sweeps the streets like Raphael painted pictures, or like Beethoven composed music, or like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Do your job so well that the dead, the living, and the unborn cannot do it any better. Thank you. That has been my friend, Professor Uwe Muller from Germany here. And we're having a wonderful time. And I thank him so much for inviting me to be part of what God is doing in Germany. Thank you, Professor.
Also, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
Okay.